All right, folks. Well, you know you're in for a treat when you hear that tune because it's time for episode 635 of the Rec Poker Podcast. Holy cow. This is the chats edition. We also have a forums edition every week, just talking strategy. I'm your host for both, you lucky folks, Jim Reid. I'm Bluffsterini in the home game and at Rec Poker Jim on the hellscape we call Twitter. And I have the best freaking job in the world talking poker with my friends here on the podcast every Monday night at 7:30 Eastern, live on YouTube. And you can join us every week for free and win a prize just for showing up. Now, we're going to be talking to LoriAnn Persinger in just a moment. First, I have to mention we are brought to you by Running Aces. They are the official sponsor of the Rec Poker Podcast, and you can find out more about them at runaces.com. Most of what we do here is free. We're a largely volunteer-based organization, so we really depend on support from our sponsors and from our premium members who take part in our training materials and study opportunities for only $22 a month. Now, most of what we do here is free, like I say, so you can sign up for a free account at RecPoker anytime you like and take advantage of all of our amazing free resources for recreational poker players. All it takes is an email address and a smile to sign up, although we do insist on both. But I do encourage you to give our premium membership a shot. You can get your first month for only $5 by using the code RecPoker at checkout. And if $5 seems like a lot of money, you can even just support a local food bank with a donation of any amount and send us the receipt, and we'll make sure to send you a free month of premium membership here at Rec Poker as a way of just saying thanks for helping out someone in your neighborhood or your community. So I hope that you do. Now, you get used to hearing my voice because they let me host the show on Mondays, but I'm only one man. It takes a group, a gang, a crew to make all the magic happen around here. We call this group of wizards the Wrecking Crew. Of course we do. And if you want to learn more about me or the rest of the crew, you can go to rec.poker/crew or just listen up because you're going to meet a few of them right here on the show tonight in alphabetical order by first name. Take it away, gang.
I'm Chris Jones. You can find me 5v5 on Twitter or 5x5 in the PokerStars home game, and I help run our monthly strategy segment called The Deep Dive.
And my name is Joe Coolis. You can find me at Joe Cool PhD, cool with a K, on Twitter, or Elvita11 in the home game. And I run the PsyOps workshop on the third Thursday of every month that talks about psychological and cognitive processes and how they impact your poker game.
And I am John Somsky, also known as Poker Geek MN everywhere, and I try to keep our home games running.
He does a very good job of it. And I'm Rob Washam. Find me as Radman50 just about everywhere. And on the first and third Wednesdays of every month, you can join me and a bunch of the premium members as we study the latest poker books.
That's right. So you can see just a little taster's choice of the smorgasbord of study opportunities available here at Rec Poker. I'm so pleased to be joined by this Wrecking Crew panel every week on the show, and I am super pleased to be welcoming a new addition to the Wrecking Crew, one and only LoriAnn Persinger. LoriAnn, welcome to the show and welcome to the Wrecking Crew. We're so excited to have you here.
Hi, thank you for having me. One and only? Okay.
Yeah, damn right.
Follow that? Okay.
Well, regular listeners to the show might remember we had LoriAnn on a while ago. It seems like the years are just going by so fast now. It's hard to say, but yeah, it's true. But we've encountered each other at live events. You're such a fixture in the Las Vegas poker scene. You've been a full-time player for a long time now. Let's just start this interview off like I start most off, without me putting words in your mouth. How would you define your own space in the poker world today?
Well, thank you for asking that question. And I want to clarify, when you said full-time, notice the face I made, because to me, full-time is if you're playing at least 3 to 4 days a week. And honestly, I play maybe 2-3 times a week at the most. Like I said, depending on what's going on. And one of those days is always with my husband on our date night, that's one of the 3 days. And it depends on what series is going on, because one of the things and one of the advantages of living in Vegas is that there is always a poker tournament or a poker series. So I don't feel obligated to play every day. And the fact that I am predominantly a tournament player, I don't recommend playing every day. Some people can grind that every day. These younger players, they can grind, but me, I'm older and I like to think a little wiser. So I don't make it like I said, I consider myself just still a rec player, thus the Wrecking Crew, but I just like to think and hopefully play like a pro.
Nice, nice. Well, I think you're kind of living the dream for a lot of people. You're in Las Vegas. You have access to all these tournaments all these time. Um, it's something we're going to talk about a lot tonight. And so I guess I'll just encourage our YouTube chatters, if you've got any questions for LoriAnn, put them in the YouTube chat and we'll make sure to ask them. And of course, we're going to be looking for some names, some suggestions to play Stake, Study, Stack and really put LoriAnn in some uncomfortable positions later. And of course, I want to just remind folks that if you'd like to make a donation through YouTube as a super chat, we share we share a portion of all our donations with a local food bank. So if folks want to say thanks and help us out that way, we would appreciate it as well. So LoriAnn, this is one of the questions that I had, and people ask me about this. They say, "Oh, I love poker. Maybe I'll just like move to Vegas and play poker all the time." I kind of dissuade them from doing that because I think for some people, having it available all the time could either make it feel like less special or something that they're less connected to, or it could be a bigger problem where they, can't stop playing because it's available all the time. Tell me a little bit about sort of your relationship to the game of poker since you've moved to Las Vegas, and has it changed how you approach the game or how you approach playing, just having it in your backyard all the time?
And actually, I like that question. I think too, also we'll go back to which will come full circle to what I feel is my role in poker. Actually,
Hmm.
when my husband and I moved to Las Vegas 6.5 years ago, I didn't play a whole lot of poker. I actually worked more in poker rooms. Like I had previously worked in 2 poker rooms in Southern California. And then when I came here, I ended up working in the Aria poker room. And I kind of ended up applying and going into, well, in the background, I'd always been kind of a part-time member of the poker media. I had a column at one time with Annie Up magazine where I was the Southern California ambassador. So I always kind of did things in poker in the background, just kind of dabbled in poker. And when we lived in San Diego, which is where we lived for 16 years, I did used to drive up to, I should say my husband and I would drive up to either the Bicycle or the Commerce and play a series there, maybe once a month, take that long drive up I-5. So actually, when I moved here to Vegas, my goal was not to be a professional poker player. It was basically to continue working somehow, some way in poker. That's how I ended up working in the Aria poker room. I was what's known as a poker attendant, or chip runner is also the term, kind of handling the money and everything, or doing the food running, and that's what I liked. And then I ended up working part-time as a live tournament reporter for Poker News. And that is where I started to get more interested in seriously in tournaments, watching, as I've told people, the best tournament players, watching them play up close and learning from them. And that's when I started playing a little bit more. And basically in 2021, after the whole pandemic and everything, is when I started playing a little bit more. And that's when I started actually doing well in tournaments and making more money doing that than I was working my 2 part-time. At this point too, I was also working, I had moved over to the Orleans poker room and I was a part-time poker attendant there, still working part-time for Poker News. So doing those 2 things. But I started making more money playing tournament poker, and I was also able to basically make my own schedule, which was the added plus, because my husband Rick, he has such a varying, his schedule is kind of, to be honest, kind of all over the place. So I like the fact that I was able to make my own schedule around his schedule. So so it just it was an accidental thing. So
Yeah, but I mean, it seems like it's worked out really nicely for you. And we talk on the show a lot about, um, poker playing a role in your life, but not being the main event. And it seems like
mm-hmm.
that's something that you've really embraced as well, having these other roles in poker in the poker industry,
Mm-hmm.
and like creating a place for yourself, and then also just having the freedom to play and to play at a high level and to not be a professional player necessarily, but like to turn a hobby into an income stream, which is something that not a lot of hobbies can do. So
Exactly, or an extra, like I said, income stream. And then, like I said, don't get me wrong, I am pretty lucky in the fact that we also, with my husband working, have a permanent, income stream coming in too. So that in itself, which I know I'm a realist. I know a lot of people aren't fortunate like that to have that, where if a tournament doesn't go well for me that particular day, it's not the end of the world. In fact, my husband plays for fun. And sometimes I have to politely remind him that, hey, babe, you're doing that just for fun. It doesn't change anything in your life or our lives whatsoever if you don't cash or don't win the tournament. So sometimes in that sense, I have to remind myself to not be jaded because of the fact that I'm not relying on it as a make or break source of income. And in that sense, it is definitely takes a lot of the stress off because, as I've said before, tournament poker in itself is stressful enough. I rarely play cash, but as you know, tournament poker, oh my goodness. And I actually am on a little break right now. People say, I haven't seen you. That's one of the other advantages of living in Las Vegas is that I can take breaks when I want to. And I do it every now and then when I start to go on, everyone does their downswing, but when I get to the point where I go home and I rethink the hand or I continually lose the 80-20, 70-30s, flips that just comes with the territory. But when you're getting in or running the same thing, you're living Groundhog Day, I take a step back. And like I said, also the other thing, living in Vegas, where you ask about, one of the things I loved growing up, and I got it from my mom, was we loved to travel or just loved to do vacations. And I, for whatever reason, love doing a staycation. It's just something you have to do once every month because I love sleeping in hotel beds. I can't explain it. They're just so comfortable. So another thing, living in Vegas, and the only downside is being a poker player. You don't really get a lot of huge comps, so I don't get like all these free suites and everything because I'm not like I'm a low roller or low stakes player in poker. I'm also a low roller when it comes to gambling. I don't know anything about table games. And when I play slots, I'm strictly a penny slots. I do the minimum bet, drink in one hand, pushing the button in the other. And it's nice because I don't have to think. I just let it do its thing. So I don't get really great comps. We get reduced rates, but anytime it comes up or something I can take advantage of to just do a little 2-day getaway, especially when Rick comes back. Like I said, we were fortunate enough, just did a staycation at Fontainebleau, which if you can do it, nice. I recommend. It's a beautiful property. It's an unpaid advertisement there. They didn't make me say that, but that's when you say about touch grass. Sometimes, even though it's still in the casino, it's just nice to just get away, even if it means just going and ordering room service or just having a nice dinner or something like that. Like I said, because it's just the two of us, I just love doing things like that. And I started to say, to come back to your original question about my role in the poker world, what I feel personally is because I check off a lot of boxes. Being a woman of color, being a veteran, being a senior, being a rec player. There's a lot of boxes that I check off. So my role, I feel, in poker is to just basically, or being a rec player, forgot that one, is to be the best role model in each one of those categories that I can. That's what I feel is basically my role in poker. So that when someone sees me, and I try to be happy when people see me for the most part. I'm not always going to say inside. I may be like, but I do try to project a positive attitude on poker, especially when I've met some people that'll remember me that we played together a year and a half ago at Orleans or somewhere. And they'll be like, we made a final table together. And I'll just smile and say, oh, well, thank you. And they'll be like, they'll remember the hand I busted them on or some pot we got it. And I have to be honest, I have no clue who I'm talking to. I can't even lie, but it's nice that they remember me. So it's something I don't take for granted. I look at that as a positive thing.
Yeah, I think so. And I know I certainly try and act as like a mentor and a role model for self-righteous, privileged, middle-aged white guys too. So like we all have our areas, we all have our lanes. Joe Coolis, you had something to add there. Please jump in.
Yeah, well, actually, I was somebody that came up to LoriAnn at Resorts World this summer when I was in Vegas and introduced myself, and she didn't remember me. That's okay, really.
I feel so bad. One, I remember faces. I have to tell you, I'm terrible with names. But see, now he's proof that I was not lying about what I said. So if you're out there listening and I don't remember you when you come up, my sincerest apologies. Yeah,
so, people come up to me all the time for my practice. So, but
okay, so the interview is over now, right? I'm
yeah, that's it. We're never doing this again. Get out of here.
Exactly. So, okay, thank you guys. Have a nice evening.
I did have a question though. So, Vegas was the first time for me this summer, and I wandered to a lot of different rooms, played a lot of different places, and it's like, the anti-cheers, nobody knows your name, and rather than where everybody knows. But the thing I did see when you were there was everybody knew who you were, right? And everybody seemed to like you. And is that an advantage or a disadvantage for somebody, or is it an annoyance or a benefit? I know it's nice to have people say hi, but you're going in there to work. So how do you see that that being a good person and people liking you impacting your poker play?
It's, I don't know if you're familiar with the show Monk. Have you ever seen Monk
Mhm.
years ago? His thing was it's a blessing and a curse. Remember, he always said about how, so that's how I deem it. It's good. And again, back to, I've told myself or had to learn to not take that for granted. And I was always kind of well known locally anyway, because just from playing and doing quite well. And in fact, just yesterday, I played a satellite or tried to get a seat into the 5,300 main event at the NAPT. And I didn't get a seat, unfortunately, but a gentleman at the table, read his name, but he goes by Champ. That's one of the things he said, is that he knew who I was because he had seen my pictures online for Resorts World and for Twitter. He had seen me. So I was just like, wow. And I said, well, you haven't seen any lately. I pointed out and he laughed, but it's just the fact, which he hasn't. But it's something, like you said, I've just learned not to take that for granted. And it can be a good thing going in. And it also, when I say it's kind of a curse, because sometimes I feel like I'm not allowed to be, for lack of a better term, normal. And what I mean by that is there's sometimes, and we'll probably get to that later in the discussion, I've had some not so pleasant experiences, and I've had to, I don't bite my tongue a lot, but I've had to approach it diplomatically or more in a professional, because I've had more than one dealer early and say, wow, you handled that really well. And I told them it's not because maybe I want to, because I'm from Chicago originally. There's a little bit of street in me, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I have to watch what I say, even though a lot of times I don't want to. And more times than not, it's a good thing Rick isn't there, because Rick has no filter, whereas I have a filter. Like I said, that's one of the things that comes with the territory, especially with social media these days. I just think that I don't want to end up on social media or end up for the wrong reason. And a lot of that came and back to being grateful for, I don't ever want to seem ungrateful, because I know a lot of it came after the WPT. So it's one of these things, whether I wanted it or not, it just kind of came with the territory. So it is, I just try to take it with a grain of salt.
I will say, and this is just based on my observations, you did a very nice job of managing all those different roles, even though in the tournament that you were in, you took beat after beat after beat. You still were cheerful, everyone was happy, and then you just kind of disappeared and left. So,
and more than once, my husband has said to me, he doesn't know how I don't turn the table over. I said, not that I don't want to. It's just that inside, it's, well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's not always easy. Trust me. But well, thank you. I try to be nice. Like I said, I can't say I'm a perfect angel. There's been a couple of times, because like I am human. It does get to you sometimes after a point. And like I said, when it gets to that point, that's when I tell myself, okay, it's not fun anymore. Step away from it for a little bit. It's not going anywhere. Because even yesterday, my friend Louise, she actually got a seat, and she asked me, was I going to try it again? And the way I went out, I actually yesterday, when I busted from the satellite, I didn't like the way I busted. And there was a ladies tournament going at the same time. And Louise asked, you gonna hop in the ladies? I said, no, I'm not hopping in the ladies tournament. And for that reason, because I knew my headspace wasn't in the right place right then and there. And the ladies tournament they were having, put on by Lips, is more of a fun, of course you're always there to compete and win, but it was more of a fun, laid back atmosphere. And I thought, I don't want to go in with this pissy attitude. And the ladies, because the ladies came in, they all, they say hello and they know me. So I don't want to go sit in this nice tournament and be in a pissy mood. So I went out and, like I said, walked around Resorts World, and actually went and sat in my car. And like, gee, and then I came back in and saw Louise, and she said, oh, you're back? I said, yeah, I just needed to decompress. And I decided, I'm here and Rick's not here. Why go home? My cat's here. I love my cat and all, but so I decided to hop in the ladies tournament. And like I said, that went well. Unfortunately, I bubbled the final table and took another bad beat, but
oh
it
no.
is what it is. It wasn't a huge, a horrid beat. The one in that satellite was a little worse, but that one wasn't so bad. But it's just the fact that I bubbled another final table. So
Yeah. Well, it's tough, particularly as a tournament player. The variance is so cruel to poker players, and like we talk about this from time to time on the show, but like if 15% of the field gets paid, that means that 85% of the people go home with nothing, and that is the status quo. Like you can play a ton of tournaments in a row and brick them all, and that is not a statistical anomaly. Like that is tough. And it's especially tough when people are nailing three outers on you up and down. Like personally, those are my least favorite. The three outers, like when
Yes.
you've got them
Well,
dominated, like everything went right. Yes, you've got ace king and they've got ace queen, and like this, you drew it up, you got them to shove just the way you wanted them to, and then bam, there's that
yep.
queen in the window, and it's like,
Well,
what
my
did I
specialty is the
do?
80-20 stuff, where I've got the overpair to their
Oh,
pair. That's
oh
that's
yeah,
my personal thing. That's
yeah.
I can nail those. No. So, but it's a good thing too. I have to give out a shout out to Rick once again, my husband, who you hear me mention numerous times, probably in this interview,
Yeah.
because he's my biggest fan and biggest supporter. It helps to have someone in that aspect that also plays, that gets it, even though he plays for fun or just does it maybe once. And he actually plays online when he's home on WSOP. I don't play online. I just don't. It's not something. I'm a people person, but he gets it, especially someone who plays online with the beats that he's taken. So it's nice to have someone that understands that the best hand doesn't always win, or like you said, that you can play your A game and it just doesn't matter some days. So thankfully, and he's been my sounding board more than once. So,
I can imagine.
I appreciate that. Yes, I appreciate it.
Now, a lot of our listeners, amateur players, they don't have a spouse who knows the game, and so you've already you're ahead of the curve there, which I love. Is it? Do you guys like study together? Do you help each other with poker strategy, or is it more just about kind of like supporting you, and like encouraging you when you're down, or when you need the kind of like just the emotional relief of a friend in those
I
moments?
think more of the latter, because I'll
Yeah,
be honest, our playing styles are not exactly the same. So because of the
sure.
fact that I do take it, and it's not a knock on my husband, but he just has a different playing style that I do. And in
Yeah.
fact, I told him more than once is that I'd like to channel, because he actually, and we discovered this even back in California, he runs better than I do. So sometimes he'll make a play that I may have been like, really? Are you sure about that, babe? But it worked out, And so I told him sometimes I wish I could take his run good and channel it, like we could just put it together. So to answer your question, sometimes he has taken advice from me, or on hands, like I'll be watching TV when he's online, and he'll be over there and he'll say, hey, and this so-and-so on a break, like he'll ask me how he played a hand. He actually will take my advice to a point, but I try to tell him that, one, I'm not always right. That's the bottom line. And like I said, I don't want him to ever feel that he has to play exactly like I do, because I mean, when I go out and play, there's a lot of people I'm competing against that don't play exactly like I do. And what may work for me, and it also is the fact that he plays more recreationally, I think is why he tends to do better sometimes. It's not just the running better. One of my, or I should say, my biggest weakness when it comes to playing is the fact that I do study and I watch the best players in the world play. Like, even though I don't play PLO, I was watching the PLO series in the Poker Go studios because I like to watch the best players play. And sometimes I have to remember, when I actually go out and play the tournaments that I play, that it's not that same level. And I actually, in the beginning, I have, by my own admission, a lot of trouble readjusting to that.
Yep.
So that's, like I said, that is definitely a weakness in my game that I am definitely trying to work on. I haven't been
Yep.
totally successful at it, but I'm working on it.
It's
I don't like
we
the
get
term
that.
dumb down. Dumbing it down is such a crass term, but it's kind of what it is,
Well,
it's in some ways.
yeah, and Rob Washington keeps us grounded here all the time with that. He's like, I know we talk about solvers and GTO theory and like how to play optimally, but you have to play against the people at the table with you. Those are the people who you're playing poker with. So it's not even about dumbing it down. It's just about changing the assumptions that you're making, right?
Or
About those
adjusting your
players.
play.
Yes,
And that's
yes.
another reason too. A lot of people that I know, a lot of the pros, they believe in late reg, and it seems to work. I just cannot bring myself to do that. I don't know if it goes back to military background about always being on time, or if you're on time, you're late. But also, I'm the kind of person that likes to get there. And if, especially like I'm playing a tournament in Orleans on Sunday where I know I'm going to be sitting with the same people for several hours, I like to get there and be able to get a read on these people and watch what they do, how big they raise. Like if this person is a 10x raiser, 8 to 10x raiser pre-flop, I'm taking a note of it, and just different things like that. As far as, that's the way I've started to adjust and learning how to adjust my play. Whereas if I'm playing something more a 400 or above by buy-in or something that I know is at Win or even now Venetian, they have a great new poker room. It's $1,100 where a lot of the pros do late reg. It's a different style of play. I don't have to, even though I do get there on time, I know if I don't, I don't have as much that I have to study and watch the other players, because a lot of it's hard to explain, but I was saying it's hard to explain. I adapt. It seems better. A lot of people don't want to play against the better players, which you get your butt kicked. I actually prefer to, because it elevates my game, if that makes any sense. So I actually like that. I don't mind getting my butt kicked by the best players.
Yeah.
That probably sounds, I mean, you're still losing, but at least, I don't know, somehow I've rationalized it in my head that I'm still losing, but I'm losing to the best players.
Yeah, no, I think there is something to that for sure. And you're also, you're getting the experience of playing with them and watching them and like seeing how they handle themselves and spots that they take and that kind of thing. So even, I think you're kind of paying to learn a little
In
bit.
some ways.
It's just like we're charging other people for the good time they have playing with us. It's the same thing. There's a value exchange there, for sure.
Exactly. And thankfully, I get in those bigger buy-ins on satellite, so that makes it a little less cheaper. Yeah.
So let's talk about that a little bit, sort of like how you approach the game and how you do adjust your play to the players at the table and to like what's available in Las Vegas, all these satellites into larger events and that kind of thing. We talk about sort of like studying GTO but playing exploitatively. Like my dad, when I was younger, would say, go don't practice on the golf course. Practice on the driving range, and then play your game on the course. That's not where you go to practice, and that's kind of how we approach a lot of poker study. It's like we on the driving range. We get esoteric. We talk about like some of the more abstract concepts, the low frequency spots that are stimulating to us mentally. But when we go out there to play, we just want to get called when we have value hands, and you know what I mean? Like we're just going to take the good bluff spots, and we're not actually that sophisticated because it doesn't serve you to play a particularly sophisticated level of poker in a lot of the lower stakes games that we play and a lot of our listeners play in. So what are some of those adjustments that you make when you are playing in these lower stakes games and trying to exploit the mistakes that lower stakes players are going to make?
Back to the original, I get a read on the table first and foremost, because maybe I might be lucky if I know a table's extremely tight, then I'm going to adjust my play based on if a person hasn't raised some. And sometimes they may just be card dead, but if I've seen a player only raise every now and then, and every time they've raised, it's been a premium hand, I'm going to definitely adjust my play to that and definitely 3-bet that player a lot less. Position, of course, is everything. I've had to learn the hard way. Do not try to bluff bad players or players that don't like to fold. I'm just telling you right now, I've lost more money trying to do that. I've adjusted to, so what I was, like I said, one of the biggest adjustments were I'm thinking at a different level that, okay, on a pro, that bluff should have worked based on the board texture and everything. And like I said, I'm looking at this, how do you call me there with a pair of deuces? Well, they're not thinking, so that's a lesson. Honestly, I'm still working on that. So depending on the tournament I play. And that's one of the other things where I will say kind of my image, my local image, so to speak. This goes back to Joe's thing he said, or well, a lot of people know me. I like to use that image where a lot of times I do show down good hands. So that has allowed me to bluff in some spots again. But like I said, this goes back to you can bluff good players. You can't bluff bad players. So, and it may be a case where it's a person I've never played with before. So they have no idea how I play. And normally I'm solid. And yes, there I may have been bluffing, but still, how do you call me with that? But that's all. But still, so that, like I said, is an adjustment I've learned too, that people, and rightfully so, they don't shove on the flop when there's a flush draw out there. People do not fold flush draws on the flop, especially in an important thing, adjusting play, whether it's still the re-entry period. That it was something too I had to learn because of the fact of getting there on time. I've had to learn again the hard way to adjust my play during the re-entry period, because there are players, and also to pay attention to who's already made it clear that they're here to blast off or re-enter, or if it's somebody that I know that's not. It's all, there's a lot of variables that go into it. Like I myself, I still, even though they're quite popular re-entry, I actually would love to see more freeze outs, because to me that's just a more pure form of poker. You're not just blasting off and seeing if I can run up a stack into a re-entry, and if I don't, I'll re-enter. I prefer more re-entry tournaments. Like I said,
Yeah.
I just think it forces you to play your A game. And even in my case, most people I play with know that I rarely re-enter a tournament. I always take an extra buy-in because, let's be honest, coolers happen, but I rarely re-enter tournaments. And I have to be honest, most of the time I don't have to, or if I get, when I bust, it's either after re-entry is over or too late to where it'll matter, where I re-buy in, it's less than like 20 bigs, I'm not even gonna bother.
Right.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
mhm.
And I do think there's that sweet spot. I think like unlimited reentry tournaments absolutely benefit professional players with backers and deep pockets who can just
Yeah.
fire, fire, fire. And for them, it's just a function of what do I need to do to build a stack? I can take 10 flips in a row, and if I lose, I'm out and I just rebuy. And if I win, now I've got a big stack, and now I can start to express my skill edge. Like for recreational players, we just don't have the wallets. Our pockets aren't deep enough for that. So I do think a freeze out. I've come around to the single reentry tournament as maybe the
I love
best
that.
of both worlds because coolers do happen, and
Mhm.
recreational players. I don't want to drive for an hour to the casino, get kings in against aces in the first orbit, and now I'm done. Um,
You don't want to drive 10
yeah.
minutes for that. So like, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I said if it's a case like that, absolutely. And I like you, am a big fan of the single reentry. And if
Hmm.
it necessarily, even with the WPT, or some do a single reentry per flight. If it's a multi-flight tournament, I think a single reentry per flight is more than adequate, especially, like I said, because I live here, so I'm not going anywhere. I didn't really pay any expenses to come here and drive. So, I mean, I see the other side of it. If you coming into town for a tournament and you that added expense of staying in a hotel or
Hmm.
transportation to get here, you don't want to be one and done. So
Yeah.
that I completely understand and can sympathize with. So it's one of these where kind of you see both sides of it. But yes,
Yeah.
I wish
Yeah.
more with single reentry, but I think it's probably a wishful kind of thinking because let's be honest, everybody loves big prize pools. So you can't have it
Hmm.
both ways, unfortunately.
Hmm. Yeah, and the game organizers love just keep raking those entries. Like it's just, that's they don't even need more dealers because they're just coming in and taking seats that are already accounted for. So
Yes.
I understand the incentives that are in play there.
Mhm.
Joe Cools.
Well, that's just what I was going to say is that
Mm.
it's as much as I would love it to freeze out because then I don't have to compete. The only way that stays profitable as not just a room taking up space for slot machines is if there's enough rake being pulled into the room in order
Mhm.
to justify it. So, when I first started playing, I was always thought, oh, this is terrible. But then as I started to look at how the finances came, I don't know how they ever stop it because it really does pay for the space.
But
So,
yeah.
but
Yep.
anyway.
We'll see, but I do think if we just are vocal about it and keep letting card rooms and operators know that unlimited reentry, we don't think it's good for the game. I don't think we'll ever like get rid of it, but they might like offer more freeze out events or single reentry events as part of a series.
Right.
So maybe that's incremental progress. I would take that.
When you have a series that has 15 to 20 events, I don't think it would be bad to have one freeze out thrown in there somewhere in the mix. I just don't.
Yeah.
But like, I'm not running the tournament series or anything like that. But I don't see why that would be that difficult. But,
Yeah. Yeah,
I
me
think it
neither.
would be a better turnout than people think.
Yeah. And I think and you're seeing that a little bit in some of I think I don't know if this is true or not. I think the WPT is kind of taking on some of the WSOP main event structure with one of their big tournaments annually as well, just making it a freeze out, the extra long hour levels like that. I think there is room for that, and not just in
Mhm.
July every year.
Mhm.
So let me ask you about that. So like we mentioned at the beginning, you're in Vegas. There's games available all the time. You could play whenever you wanted to. How do you choose where and when to play?
I guess part of it depends on how I feel. If I feel like getting up in the morning and playing early, or if I feel like playing in the evening again. When Rick is home, we tend to play in the evenings. We like to go have dinner first and then play a later tournament. And a lot of it, because I'm a person that's big on structure, it depends on the series. And how do I narrow it down? There's a lot of variables for me that go into it. One is the buy-in of the tournament, the structure, and just how much time I feel like putting in on that particular day. If I'm in the mood to literally, I'll look at things ahead of time. And if I'm in the mood where I know I want to be there 10 to 12 hours, then I'm going to play a win or a Venetian event because I go in with the mindset that, hey, I want to be here 10 or 12 hours. And that's where it's going to be. But when Rick, and that's only, like I said, when Rick is not in town. When he's in town, I prefer the shorter, quicker structures. And less, because also in our case, if we're both buying in, where as much as like as there's a tournament, which is we used to play Resorts World a lot at night and don't play it quite as much. We like the day one, but for us, if we're each buying in for $200, it's a $3K guarantee. That's not as much of a value to me as playing like a 150 buy-in where the guarantee is 8K.
Yeah.
Right. And if you don't cash, it doesn't matter anyway. But that's the way that. So, but that's the things that I take into consideration, whether I'm playing by myself or if we're playing together, because it is all costs. And that's one of the pros of living in Vegas. Like you said, there's always another tournament. And at the same time, that's also a con because, as you said, there is always another tournament. And if you're not smart about your bankroll, you will find yourself in the thing of, well, I have to play. There's a tournament I have to play. And thankfully, I don't feel that way. And I've played all over pretty much in Vegas. I love, and I've played the 164K at Aria because there's been days I felt like sleeping in, and that one starts at 1 o'clock. And plus, that has a soft spot in my heart because I started working there. But even still, I still love the 205K. They're not, sometimes a big prize pool is good, but also for me, sometimes it's more important to feel comfortable where I'm playing, especially if I'm going to be going to play by myself. That also is another big factor in deciding where I go play. There's certain places I'm comfortable going to play by myself. Resorts World, I'm definitely comfortable because we'll get to that eventually. It's one of my favorite places to play because the room, you've been there, the room I think is great. It's spacious. The staff is great. I just wish they would figure out a way to do more promotions or promote it better because it really is a great room. And I don't know if it's the distance or what the disconnect is there because, like I said, it's easy from, even if you Uber or Lyft from the front entrance, it's easy from parking. Everything is really convenient and it's just a great room. So that being said, my long way of answering, it just depends on what's going on. Kind of, there's some things I plan in advance and some things I just kind of wing it, just depending on, there's been times where the night before I'll go to bed saying, okay, I'm going to play this tournament. I just did this on Sunday with Orleans. I went to bed thinking I was going to get up that day and play the 240K at Orleans. And I got up and I was like, you know what? I just wasn't feeling it. I couldn't explain it, wasn't feeling it. And then I got a text from my friend Louise, who mentioned about the satellite at Resorts World. I was like, I don't know if I'm feeling that one either, but I let her talk me into it. I should have just stayed at home. But it ended up being a fun day. So I did get out of the house. So like I said, the long-winded way of answering your question is sometimes I have a plan and sometimes I just wing it, depending on how I feel. So and that's one of the things I would definitely say to poker players, especially if you have the opportunity where you can always play if you want to, and if you don't, if you're not feeling it, do not play because that means you're not taking your A game with you. And like I said, as we know, poker is tough enough when you're playing your A game. So you definitely don't want to go in there and play your D game.
Yep. Great advice. Great advice. Chris Jones, you had something, I think.
Well, I want to just follow up on this conversation about Vegas rooms because this comes from our YouTube chat. Midwest 1811 asks Vegas related question for Lori. Do you recommend any current daily tournaments or two for great daily value in the $100 to $300 buy-in range? And I guess to maybe frame this different from your own experience, like what if you're advising somebody who's a poker player but maybe is not that familiar with Vegas, maybe they're coming for a first or a second or a third time, but they're not really that familiar with the rooms, they haven't played that often. Are there daily tournaments that you'd recommend to somebody like the recreational player who's kind of coming at it from that angle?
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for the question. Like I said, there is a list. I will actually just list them for you because I kind of know that I personally think are all good values. You said from the 100 to 300. I know South Point, which, like I said, and that tends to be a little more gambly, but they have a 100, and actually, no, I take that back. It's a $200 15K guarantee that they run on Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday nights. It's 20-minute levels, and it's known as their deeper stack. Orleans runs on Tuesdays and Thursday nights, a 150, I mentioned it before, a $150 8K guarantee. And during the day, they also run their $100 6K guarantees during the day. And these are all the ones I recommend that have guarantees. When they're not running their series, if you can catch in between, they also do a great $200 10K guarantee that they run during the day that starts at noon. Now at night, they'll go back to, I think they're 5 p.m. It starts at 5 or 6 where it's a 160 buy-in, but it's a 10K guarantee, but there is a $100 add-on. So when you have the add-ons, of course, the min cash is always going to be a nice min cash if you can get the min cash. My personal, when it in that price range of 200, I still think, even though I haven't done well the last couple of times I've played it, in my opinion, the best value $200 tournament in Vegas is the $200 40K guarantee at Orleans on Sundays. And that has a $100 add-on, and it usually gets anywhere from 50 to 60K. Now, during the summer, that same tournament was getting, they had so many people, it was getting up to 100K guarantee in the prize pool every day, every Sunday in that tournament. But that is, in my opinion, the best value tournament, weekly tournament. Like I said, there's the add-on. So of course your main cash is going to be more than double the buy-in if you don't do the add-on. But it's a great structure too. Like I said, you start with 25,000 in chips, and the add-on is another $100 for another 25K in chips, and it's 30-minute levels. So those are the ones off the top of my head. I hope I answered that question.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that they're coming in. And I didn't mention Resort. I'm sorry. How do I forget Resorts World? They have a daily $200 at Resorts World, a 5K guarantee. And Resorts World is one of the few places, most places pay 12.5 to 15% of the field. 12.5 is standard now. Resorts World is one of the few that still pays 10% of the field for the most part, but their min cash is always at least triple the buy-in. And the other advantage to Resorts World is it is a lot of regulars. You're going to see the same people in there every day. So that's more, in my opinion, it's a lot of people don't believe in chopping. I am a person that has no problem with chopping if the chop makes sense. I'm never an advocate for even chopping, but Resorts World, a lot of players know each other, and if it's a $200 buy-in. If you have 30 players, that means they're only really going to pay 3 spots, but a lot of times they'll get down to 5 or 6, and they'll look at numbers and chop, and everybody's happy. That means if you came here on vacation, hey, you made some money for the day. So that's the reason I recommend that one also, even though it has the lowest guarantee for the price point. It's still a great, and it also it has 30-minute levels as well, and 25K in chips. And it's just a great room with a great staff too. So if you're going and looking for a nice, comfortable place to play, clean, and like I said, just a great room, I recommend that one also.
And I know for recreational players in particular, there's this tension between what they're looking for when they go to play a tournament. And like the larger prize pools, typically what that means is that there's a larger fields. So you're playing in a higher variance situation. Yeah, there's a bigger prize up top, but you're a lot less likely to make the final table. You're a lot less likely to make the final 3. Playing in smaller field tournaments, you're more likely to make your way to the end of it. So there's a real trade-off there for sure. But I think, times call for either. It sort of like depends on what you're looking for.
What you're looking for. And I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
Now, I was going to say a lot of times a lot of my success has been at Resorts World, and they have been smaller fields. But the way I look at it is you're there to make money. Money's money. Especially the case where I've done well and I've only played for like 5 hours and I've made more than someone. That's the only downside to the Orleans tournaments. You got to be prepared to be there all day. And sometimes it goes to like 2 or 3 in the morning, and you have to be there at least 12 hours to actually start getting into the good money. Whereas the trade-off at Resorts World, you play maybe 5 or 6 hours and, it's like you've 6 extra money pretty much. And to me, I mean, isn't that what we play poker for?
Yeah. Nice. Well, this is exactly the kind of stuff that I'm looking forward to talking to you more about over the course of the year as a RecPoker Crew member. Is having your boots on the ground in Vegas, knowing the different casinos and where to play and which ones have the right field sizes for you and that kind of thing. So I'm really excited about this. And if folks want to find out more about LoriAnn, you can go to rec.poker/LoriAnn and check out her RecPoker Crew page there. And of course, we'll be speaking to her often on the show and in our premium membership as well to talk about some of this kind of stuff. Uh, and I just think there's no substitute for an actual experienced veteran in the area who can actually speak to like what the rooms are like and what the tournament fields are like and what the structures are like. I just think that's extremely valuable. Now, you mentioned a little about sort of feeling not only comfortable like in your seat, but also feeling like safe and comfortable in a more existential way. Um, is that something that varies from room to room down there? Can you speak a little bit to sort of like you mentioned like you might play at one place because you know you're going to feel safe there. I think for tourists or for out of towners, particularly for male recreational poker players, like we're not going to be thinking in those kind of terms. Can you just kind of share a little bit about that side of your decision making and that side of like the poker scene down there?
Oh, absolutely. When I say safe, meaning from a woman's perspective, whether or not I feel comfortable, like me, I'm a kind of person, I valet. That's what I do. I don't, the only parking garage I really use is Resorts World because I'm very comfortable in that park. Actually, I'm sorry, I use Wynn as well. And that's what I mean by safety. If it's a place I feel safe to play as a woman, parking in the parking garage and going to the poker room from the parking garage. It's not very dark. It's not somewhere you have to feel like you're looking over your shoulder. But also a big part of it to me is the clientele too. And that's one of the, if I would only say, drawback to Orleans. And usually the only time I'll go is like on Sunday or my husband because it's oh, I hate to say that, but because I love the room and I used to work in it. I love the, but for whatever reason, the Orleans, you may have heard this before, it draws a different kind of clientele on the regular basis. And that's where anytime I've played, and not just with me, that's where I've seen the most confrontations between players. I don't know. It's just, for some reason, it just seems that players come in there more angry at Orleans.
Mm.
And I have no idea why. I can't explain it. It is just, and it's still all these years later, still baffles me. So that is still the one place that, unless Sunday, and I know some other people that I have like a team of players that I call them hand history homies or somebody else I know is playing. If Rick is not here, then I go ahead and play. But like I said, I do valet park, but it's more of a, not a feeling safe. It's more of a, do I feel like putting up with crap today? That's more of what that is. Yes, that's the difference with Orleans. It's a, like I said, it's a different mindset for some reason. But there isn't really, I'm trying to think anywhere that I play, and from a women's standpoint, this is talking to the ladies specifically, where I don't feel safe going by myself. And honestly, I feel comfortable, to be honest, most of all the places that I shouldn't say most, all the places that I play. And that's probably not by accident. I probably wouldn't go play somewhere that I did not feel safe or comfortable playing.
Yeah. And I know for the Orleans, Rob Washam plays there a lot. So there's probably a lot of salty people that he's laid some bad beats on. They're still having trouble dealing with their anger from that. That's very understandable.
It's interesting. I mean, it's just, but if you've played there, then you know what I'm talking about. It's interesting. I'm just like, wow. And it's one of these you want to say, that's why they have online poker. You know, why are you bringing that anger here? Just stay home.
Right.
And when I used to work there, see, now the difference is when I worked there, I couldn't say anything. I had to bite my tongue.
Right.
You know, now I don't have to bite my tongue. But it's like, hey, they could have stayed home. Nobody, they have to, the dealers, and that's one of my biggest pet peeves is being rude to dealers. Like that's another thing I'll say, because my thing is the dealers are there to work. They have to be there. We don't. So if you know you're in a bad mood or you're not going to be in a good place, you just don't go out. You know, like I said, you live here like I do. There's going to be another tournament. There's no reason to come out angry. It's just, they don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. And more importantly, none of us should have to deal with that. Just stay your ass at home. No.
They go to the Orleans. They go to the Orleans because they've already broken their mouse or their monitor.
Oh,
so
that could be.
If they want to continue to play, they have to go to a live poker room. So they end up at the Orleans.
I don't know. I didn't think of that. You're right, Rob. That makes total sense. Yeah.
Chris Jones, why don't you share that? You just put something in the chat. Why don't you share that with the rest of our group here? That seems like it's very...
I don't know. It was 2018, 2019, 2018. I was at the Orleans and there were two players. I was playing cash there. Two players at my table. One of them got a Subway sandwich. There's a Subway I don't know if it's still there, but there was
In the food court, yes.
right near the poker room.
Mhm.
Somebody got a Subway sandwich and they literally got into a yelling match. Almost came like they weren't like coming to blows, but I was like starting to get worried that this was going to get physical about the sandwich order. Like
Why?
they were
Because
fighting.
the
They
person
were
didn't
fighting
bring
about
it
why.
on, or
Well, how could you order that? That's a stupid order, and I can't even remember what the guy had. It looks like a meatball. I think it was a meatball sub, and maybe the guy was concerned it was too messy to be on the chips or something. But like it was literally like they were going at it over their sandwich order. I'm like, I don't know if I'm in the right room right now.
I wish I could say I was surprised. I'm not. No, I'm not. I kid you not. This, in fact, when I say about the thing, this has been like 2 months now. I played one night with a guy, and in the world, if you can't make this up, this guy was angry from the beginning. Him and I got into it because actually he was berating the dealer. I can't even remember what it was. And then another player who I played with a lot, Daniel's regular. Him and Daniel started going at it. And it was like, buddy, what is your problem? So he gets a warning. Fast forward, I kid you not, we get to the final table. It's kind of a sick brag here. I made the final table.
Yeah, all right.
Make the final table. This guy gets a warning the first hand just of the final table. So he starts the final table on a warning. He comes back. He proceeds. I can't remember what it was. He didn't like. I beat him in a hand, and I can't remember what he said, but I do remember the FU. He proceeds to get, after coming back from a warning, the FU, and gets kicked out of the tournament. That was he got a warning. Like I said, how do you come back from being on a 10, the 1 round penalty for getting into it right before the final tape? You come back and you started with me, and it was just like, are you effing kidding me? So at that point, Rick, not my husband Rick, but the floor person, said that was it. He just took his chips, and it's like, what is this? How can you be that angry? And we still don't know what he was angry about. No clue, none at all.
I love
86.
I love to see it though, because like people, was this at the Orleans?
This was at Orleans. Yeah.
Okay, so kudos to you, Orleans, because we talk about this on the show quite a bit. How we as a community need to do a better job of letting these assholes know that it's not permissible for them to just be jerks in public, and like. But we don't have the power to do anything about it. Like, really, it comes down to the poker rooms, the floor staff, the tournament directors, the poker managers, to enforce rules, to create effective rules, and to enforce those rules, and to stop these people from being jerks in public without repercussion. Is that something that you've seen differs sort of from room to room? Are there rooms where the staff are kind of more tolerant of assholes, and rooms where people are less tolerant, or is that too amorphous a concept?
Ironically, amorphous. That's the second time in 2 days I've heard that word. I'm
Oh.
not going to say for the other places I heard that word. Anyway, but actually, coincidentally, Orleans is the one that I think, like I said, he had gotten, it was 3 times at this point.
Right.
And in all honesty, in all fairness, I myself should have gotten a 1 round penalty earlier that day when it was a different day, not earlier, a different day, with a guy. And the silliest thing, okay, you have the little side tables. Now, as a woman, one of the things I do, because I have my purse and I bring water and everything with me, I don't like to sit with my purse on my lap or behind me. So I always make it a point to get there early, get a little side table. I clean it off and everything. So I have the table next to me. And I can't tell you how many times and it's always a guy, will sit down and just put their stuff on the table and not say anything. It's not that I have a problem sharing it, but at least say, hey, do you mind if I put this here? No, they'll just don't. Whereas a woman will always ask. Well, this guy decided the table broke, got moved to our table, and decided he had opened something. And I have my purse. I have this purse, one of 2 that my husband got for me last year when we went to Chicago. I don't know if you've seen it, Jim, my bag that's known, and it actually looks like it's a special bag. It looks like my face on the side. It's not me, but it just looks like it is. And it's an expensive purse, and I had it on the table because there's no rack underneath. And he just throws his junk on the table. And I was like, excuse me, and there's literally a garbage can, just a few. And I said it and got offended because, one, I says, I didn't appreciate him just throwing his junk on the table next to the purse, but also, why don't you get up? And he started, I kid you not, going off on me. And literally, so I was just like, no. And not only no, but hell no. And he said something, I can't remember, but all I know is I said, fuck you. And if my mom is listening, I apologize, Mom. And I technically should have gotten a 1 round penalty because that is a word that's not allowed.
True.
But the guy and the floor was called over because we're going back and forth at this point. And thankfully, which was a rarity too, another gentleman at the table even spoke up. He says, "Man, what are you doing? It's her table. You literally put your junk on her table, and he literally also told the floor that no, the guy was flat out wrong." And then the guy got upset and started talking, and he ended up getting a warning. Well, nothing was done to me, so I don't know. It technically probably wasn't fair. I should have gotten a warning as well, but that may be, from knowing me or whatever. But it just goes back to, again, at Orleans and all the stories that, for the most part, that I can tell you of the experiences that I've had. And I'm sitting here thinking, have unfortunately been at Orleans. So it's kind of, so it's not so much that even when Brittany was there that it's not that I think they tolerate it so much, because Barb definitely doesn't tolerate crap. It's just that seems to be that there's so much of it that they can't put a handle on all of it. It's just a different animal, for lack of a better word.
Yep.
Term. So
yep, I think so.
It's important because I think too that even before, when they were having the 40K is one they always make. And for a while there, they had a really nice, 150 10K on Tuesdays. That was a really nice tournament. They couldn't make the guarantee. And in my opinion, I always think was the problem. And you've heard before sometimes too, where they've had problems making their guarantees in certain things. And I think it has a lot to do with, or I should say more to do with the room itself than the structure or the buy-in or anything like that. It's just that because some people that know Orleans, unfortunately, I think don't want to go there and play because of previous experiences. And I think it's unfortunate. And I don't want to come across like I'm ragging on New Orleans, because like I said, Barb is great, the staff is great, but I just think unfortunately, it's one of these, a few bad apples can kind of ruin the whole experience per se.
Well, we're getting some really good comments in the YouTube chat here. I love, we finally got our first sandwich reference of the day. So excellent. People are tuned in. They know exactly what show they're here for. I will remind our YouTube chatters we're running out of time with LoriAnn here. So I'll give you one last chance to get some questions in if you like. And otherwise, we'll be moving on to Stake, Study, Stack and closing the action with our speed round. Now you've been in Vegas for several years now. You moved down there before the pandemic. You lived there through the lockdowns and the ghost town of it. You've seen it recover since then. Any surprises for you about the city or about sort of the experience of living there and playing when you moved there from San Diego? I'm sure you had like a sense of what it was going to be like, but what were some of the surprises or things that caught you off guard about living there?
Honestly, not too much, because I was very familiar with Vegas before we moved here. Like I said, because we used to come 2 or 3 times a year. And I think I mentioned before, we actually got married here. So very, like I said, very comfortable. And I was more concerned about, well, we move here, then where are we going to go on vacation? But I love it. One of the things I do feel sad about since the pandemic, and something I've noticed growing up, like I said, having taken trips to Vegas, I've always loved the Strip. Even the old and the new, it's more new now. I kind of miss, and then even when the Tropicana imploded, a few weeks ago, that anytime an old casino goes down, it kind of saddens me a little bit. I feel like a little piece of me is lost. But I still miss the old days of driving up and down the Strip, where you just saw everything was just so bright and so beautiful. And it's not really like that as much anymore. And I noticed ever since the pandemic too, it's something that it seems like the buildings, they don't light up as much as they used to. Like if there's a big event in town, like for example, if you're not here, I guess maybe you might not know what I'm talking about, but if you live here, like for example, MGM is green. It has that emerald green on the outside of the building, like the Wizard of Oz. There are sometimes at night, it's not lit up emerald green. They kind of wait till the weekend or for big events. And it's a lot of the same for a lot of the other big hotels. Even Caesars and Bellagio, they keep their lighting to a minimum now, which I think is unfortunate. Oops, I'm going out of screen a minute here.
Uh-oh.
My thing came unplugged, letting me know my battery goes. I need to plug it.
All right, good timing then.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. So that's one of the things I did notice that was a big change since the pandemic. And I don't quite understand that, because it's been shown that all the hotels are they're still making money left and right, especially since the pandemic. Room rates definitely have gone up since before the pandemic, and it's not, and they're showing every quarter they're turning a huge profit. So don't let anyone tell you that people are not coming to Vegas anymore, because people are coming to Vegas. So like I said, that's one of the things. And it did sadden me. I remember during the pandemic, leaving when you really couldn't leave the house. But one of the things we did when we got out finally is we went driving up the strip. And I remember doing it once and didn't go back because it was so sad to me just to see it empty and everything, no lights on, everything. And it was just like, this is not the Vegas that I know and love. So it's kind of back. Well, it's obviously back price wise in hotels, but as far as that, I just wish they would go back. Downtown still pretty much, as far as lighting up everything, I think they've pretty much still stuck with that. But for some reason, the strip, not so much. I don't know why they've gotten so cheap.
Yeah, well, we'll keep our fingers crossed for a Vegas renaissance sometime in the future.
Oh, I don't. Yeah, a Vegas lights renaissance.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
They're not hurting for money.
No, it's
They're
true.
doing
It's true.
fine.
They're doing just
doing
fine.
just
They're up
fine.
there. They're up there with the banks and the insurance companies. No pity parties over here.
Exactly.
Chris Jones, why don't you get ready for a stake study stack? I'm just going to roll through a couple of these comments in the YouTube chat. We've got some really fun people, some new faces, some old faces in the YouTube chat. I just want to shout them out. I'm really excited for Midwest 1811. He says they've just finished the sandwich era of the podcast, listening in reverse. So they're starting now and going back, and they've gotten back to the point before we started doing the sandwich bit on the show. So I mean, I feel sorry for you, because like you're just never going to regain that high caliber of podcasting now that you're going back deep cuts into the old episodes. But that's very cool, and I love to see some new faces in here. Like Vice Chic and some other. I know I'm going to screw it up if I try and mention them, but I love it when folks get active in the YouTube chat here. You can win a prize for showing up. We're going to give away a prize as soon as the interview's over here for folks to help support a local food bank. But first, we're going to play Stake Study Stack. Chris Jones, why don't you take our newest Wrecking Crew member through the crucible of this podcast segment?
All right, LoriAnn. I've been looking for some names, and I think what there's some good suggestions here, but I'm gonna settle on three. As a woman poker player in media, I'm gonna settle on three women poker players in media.
Okay.
So my names for you. So you have to give me one person who you would stake in a tournament or cash game, one person who you would like to study with, and one person who you would take a great amount of pleasure just taking all their chips at the table and stacking them.
Okay, I got the pen ready. Here we go.
Your three names are Jen Shahade, Maria Ho, and Jamie Kerstetter.
Oh, okay. Jen. Okay, stake, study, or stack. Oh, goodness. Wow. Let's see. Because wow. That's an interesting.
We don't make it easy. We do not make it easy here on the RecPoker podcast.
Don't, because technically, based on just her and what I know about her, I would want Maria Ho for all three. I can't lie. And I would Jennifer. It's like I would want to stay. I mean, when you say steak, I think Maria, I would want to stake Maria for us. I mean, you did make that tough. But do I have to pick one for each one?
One for each. That's the rule.
You sure do.
Oh, you guys, that is just, oh my goodness. You know what? Okay. I'm going to go with steak. I'm going to go with Maria Ho. I'm going to stake. She seems like that would definitely be a good value. As far as study, I'll go with Jen Shahade, because being the chess player, I know, yep, as far as the term, when they're playing chess and you're playing checkers, I think she's perfect. And stack, Jamie, because Jamie is just cool as hell. And I think she would be totally fine with me stacking her. At least she would be on the outside. Inside she might be cussing me out. But those are my picks.
Yeah, I think you'd get a smile from Jamie no matter how it went out there.
Exactly.
Good pulls. All right. Well, this has been a real treat. So we're going to close the action with our speed round in just a moment. But first, I just want to invite our YouTube chatters to start typing the words food bank into the YouTube chat. That's all you have to do. We're going to draw a prize, a raffle style, at the end of the show here. We're going to either be giving out a free month of premium membership here at RecPoker, or if you're already a RecPoker premium member, you're in for a treat. You're going to get access to a free month of the Poker Forge with Sky Matsuhashi, one of our learning partners and a really fantastic coach and teacher, and it has so many fantastic resources there for recreational players looking to make the next step. So the reason that we do this by this kind of odd food bank raffle thing, we just need a way to make it random. If you want to enter, type the words food bank in the YouTube chat, and then we'll roll a die later to see who the winner is going to be. I just want to remind folks that it's a very difficult time in the world right now. People are having a hard time making ends meet. People are having a hard time putting food on the table for themselves, their families, their loved ones, their kids. And you might be surprised at who needs a little help right now. It might not be the people you expect. It might be some people in your own neighborhood, in your own community, who just need a little help. And we're trying to make it easier for folks who just need a little help to ask for a little help and to go get a little help. And one of the best ways that you can make the world a better place is by just pulling out a smartphone right now and Googling food banks near me. And if you do that, if you pull out the phone and Google food banks near me, you'll find an organization that could really benefit from a few dollars out of your pocket, a few hours out of your week as a volunteer, or a few non-perishable food items from your pantry. And it makes a big difference in people's lives. And these are the kind of organizations that don't have a lot of overhead. A lot of your donation will go right into feeding hungry people in your community. So I just encourage everyone not only to take some time and support a local food bank, but just for tonight, as we raise awareness for the fight against insecurity, just type the words food bank into the YouTube chat and we'll give away a fantastic prize a little later on the show. So, but first,
just real quick, Jim.
Yeah, Joe.
I just want to point out the fact that, sometimes when you give money online to a lot of different larger charities, the overhead eats up a lot of what you pay in. And food banks, it's just a much more direct, donation. So the point you're making is very apt about it. So just it's really important to do that.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. All right, so this is our closing the action. We call this the speed round here. LoriAnn, we're looking for the first answer that pops into your mind. Anything that is completely true and lightning fast, that's what we're looking for. You can say pass. And to get us started, we're going to introduce some dramatic ticking noise. That's right. Insta-pass, like the pre-pass.
Pass.
Here we go. It's okay. We're going to start you off with a super easy one. You can't get this one wrong. LoriAnn Persinger, what is your favorite poker hand?
Aces.
All right. Poker. Is it a gamble or a skill game?
I think it's actually a little bit of both, mostly skill. But I would go for my least favorite thing. We're going to go with 70-30.
Okay, yeah, that's right. I know that's a trauma response, so I appreciate you going there. Yeah. What's your biggest poker pet peeve?
Oh, goodness. Eating finger foods at the table and root players. Can I have two?
Yes, two. Allowed, for sure.
Greasy finger foods.
Yeah, get those meatball subs off the table, guys. Come on. Is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Oh, Die Hard is a Christmas movie.
Is Ace King a drawing hand?
Ace King is a premium drawing hand.
I'll take it. What's one thing you don't have that if you did would make you truly happy?
One thing I don't have that if I did would make me truly happy? One thing I don't have. Oh, goodness. Oh, I'm taking too much time. Does it have to be poker related?
No, anything in your life.
To be able to honestly have a conversation with my grandma.
Oh, that's nice. Yep, full marks. Is a hot dog a sandwich?
Okay. I've been waiting for this question. Oh, yeah, I have an answer for this one. I never thought, honestly, hot dog is I'm going to take way too much time. Is a sandwich.
No, I want to hear it. I want to hear it.
But I went ahead and deferred to the experts. So I'm just going to read something. The National Hot Dog and Sausage Council, which is the NHDSC, never heard of it, announced in 2015 they were officially separating themselves from the term and declared their signature food to be the, and I quote, hot dog formerly known as a sandwich, unquote. So no, It is not a sandwich.
Okay. I mean, that's an appeal to authority. That sounds like, all right.
I can sell it the experts.
I like that you were prepared for this. No stranger to the
no
show.
Other
You
questions,
knew what you
I
were
was
getting
prepared for that one.
Okay. Well, then let me just push the envelope a little here. What about a taco? Is a taco a sandwich?
Oh, my goodness. There's a shell. No, there's no bread. It's not a sandwich.
All right. We'll leave the sandwich stuff out of it for here. What's one thing you are afraid of?
Oh, goodness. There's actually two equally, spiders and heights.
Oh,
But I will watch a big giant spider movie in a minute. And I actually am fascinated by roller coasters and airplanes. Don't ask me to
oh, okay.
engineering. I don't ride roller coasters, but I will ride them vicariously on YouTube videos.
There you go. Okay. I think I know the answer to this one, but should vacations be lazy or busy?
Oh, goodness. I think a little bit of both. It depends on it depends on how many days you've got. Now, if you've got 7 days, then it should be lazy. If you've only got 2 to work with, it's gonna, you got to fit a lot in there in those 2 days.
Yep. Okay. I like that. Name one player that you respect and why. One poker player you respect and why.
Oh, it goes back to Jamie Kerstetter, who I hope gets in the Women's Poker Hall of Fame. She's basically done everything that I like to do as far as being a player, a commentator, and just an overall good person for the poker community. I just think her Twitter game is on point. I don't call it X, it's Twitter. She hasn't been on there lately. I think, like you said, because it's a health case now.
Yeah, I can't argue with that. All right, there's a yellow light coming up. Slow down or speed up?
Oh, goodness. Rock a V8. So it depends on how close I am to the light.
Yep, that's fair. That's fair. How about an Oreo cookie? Is an Oreo cookie a sandwich?
What the heck kind of question is that? It's a cookie. Is that a correct question? No, it's not a sandwich.
All right. This doesn't have to be your favorite musical artist, but just name one excellent musical artist that you enjoy.
Oh, Bruno effing Mars. Just saw him
Nice.
on his birthday.
All right, there you go. What's one thing that you can't live without?
I can't live without. Oh my goodness. Anything I can't live without. I wasn't ready for that question.
No, we got you jumping from foot to foot here. This is how we like to do it.
I'm sorry, my husband. Hello.
I believe it.
Probably should say my husband.
Yeah, you're going to get in trouble otherwise. And I enjoyed meeting you and Rick in Vegas a couple years ago. The rapport is real. She's not faking it, folks.
That's kind of a serious one. Yeah, we've actually been. Whoa. We're supposed to be fun. I went like serious. No, really, my husband, because yeah, we've been together for so long.
I believe it.
40 years and been together.
All right. Let me see. Is an open face sandwich a sandwich? Last sandwich question, I promise.
Yes, an open face sandwich, like a hot turkey open face sandwich.
Yeah.
Absolutely freaking.
Okay.
In fact, that's the only time I will actually eat white bread. It's open face turkey sandwich on white bread. That's the only way to do it.
All right, we get a different set of answers this is why we keep asking the sandwich questions, folks, because we're like discovering these schisms within the poker world. These are the right questions to ask. All right, who is your poker nemesis?
You know what? I don't have a who poker nemesis. I have a what, because I play tournament poker. So I'm going to say my poker nemesis is variance.
Yes. All right. That's a good
who?
one.
Yeah, I was going to say I got a what.
Yeah, that's right. I like that. That's a good answer. All right, now let's get to. We're going to stop the countdown. I got one more question for you. So, what's one thing that you do to make poker more fun for you or more fun for other people? What's one thing you do to make poker more fun?
I can't speak for other people. I just try to be, like I said, a good person at the table and treat other people the way I want to be treated. That's how I was raised by my mom. But to make poker more fun for me, and like I said, where I start to get mad at poker, you have that love-hate relationship. I go back to realizing how lucky I am to be able to play the game when I want to, if I want to play, if I don't want to play. And the fact, like I said, you can get jaded. Yes, there's $14,000 up top for first place. But if I've played 5 hours of poker and I've made $1,000, it's like, hey, I have learned to be. I mean, there's some people that I look at it like, for example, my own husband or anybody who works a regular job, how many hours they had to work to make $1,000. So that's the way I keep poker fun. That may not work for everybody, but that's the way I keep poker fun for me. And it keeps me grounded and not be jaded when it comes to playing poker.
That's a great answer. No, it's a great answer. I wanted a true answer, and you gave it. So I'm just going to do some quick math here. Looks like 1,128 points. That's an exceptional score, LoriAnn. Congratulations.
Is
That's
that
amazing.
good? I was gonna
Oh
say-
yeah. Not a lot of people get to 4 digits. 4 digits, that puts you in like the top 5% or so. So I'd be very proud of that.
Okay.
Very proud of that. And to all you folks telling us to can the sandwich questions, you should see the YouTube chat going on right now. People are very invested in the outcome of these sandwich questions. We are asking the real questions here on the RecPoker podcast. So yeah, there you go. All right, let us give a freaking prize away and let LoriAnn get out of here. Actually, I guess, well, LoriAnn, is there anything else that you'd like to leave us with? Again, if folks want to get more LoriAnn Persinger in their lives, you can go to rec.poker/LoriAnn. There's a link there to her Twitter page, and we'll be putting some information up about how you can engage with LoriAnn here at RecPoker more over the next little while. But is there anything else, LoriAnn? A social media handle, a newsletter, something to sign up for? How can folks say hi and thanks for coming on the show?
Well, they could always say hi in the chat, but if you see me in person, and please say hello. I like to think of myself as a very personable person. If we played before and I don't remember you, I'm apologizing right now. But please come up and say hello. I don't take that personally. As you like to say, Twitter, that hellscape that I will not call X. I'm at LoriAnn Per, LOANPER, LoriAnn Persinger for short. 66 is what my Twitter handle is. Like I said, you'll go on there and see things poker related. I try to just keep it light right now.
Nice. Good for you. I think we need more of that in the world today. And I'll make sure that the link to that is in the show notes. If folks are listening along and you want to connect with LoriAnn, feel free to. All right. Well, LoriAnn Persinger, this has been a pleasure. I knew it would be. We're going to cover some recent home game results and talk about some upcoming events. But thank you so much for your time today. And I'm really looking forward to spending even more time with you on the RecPoker Crew over the next little while. This is great.
Thank you guys for having me. I had a blast. I hope I didn't talk too fast.
No, we were killing it. Get used to it. We're gonna be doing this a lot. All right. Well, John Somsky, why don't you take us through some recent home game winners, and then let's give some of these YouTube chatters a fantastic prize. Thanks, LoriAnn. That was a pleasure.
Thank you, guys.
On October 21st, we had Evil Roy CA. David Westerveld got his second nightly victory for the year.
That's all he does.
Bruce K54, Bruce Kiefer or Kiefer. How would you pronounce that? It's EIFFER. KEI. Is it Kiefer or Kiefer?
Well, you think we're going to help you?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going Kiefer.
All right, Bruce, right in, Bruce. Save John Somsky from himself.
He got his 5th nightly victory for the year.
Congratulations.
Chip and Flip Rick.
Luke O'Driscoll.
Yes. Got his 3rd nightly victory for the year. E. Anderson 85. Eric Anderson got his 9th nightly victory for the year.
Guy's on a roll
up to
lately.
38 all time. So he's in the hunt for things.
And I'm gonna cut you off, John, because we haven't done that in forever. You've gotten so used to just like speaking as though you were entitled to the time and space in front of you. Eric Anderson, if you're interested in this kind of stuff, Eric Anderson is also quite proficient in Poker Tracker 4, and he's posted a couple responses in the Matt Affleck coaching session forum here at RecPoker. I've been doing these coaching sessions with Matt Affleck, and RecPoker members can join along. He's included a couple, I think reports or filters or ways that we can mimic some of the stuff that Matt's been doing in there. So keep it up, Eric. I'm so impressed. Eric always has all these fantastic resources for newer poker players, and I'm glad he's a big part of our membership here. But Eric, start joining events 1 hour earlier. We want you live in the Zoom room. No more joining after it finishes. I want to get you in the Zoom room. All right. Thank you, John Somsky. Please continue.
Then UW River Rat got their first victory ever, and it was a nightly victory. Apple O' My Eye, Harold Berry got his 3rd nightly victory for the year. Dan DResG, Daniel A, got his daily mixed victory for the year. Isenma got their 5th international victory for the year, and this was their 50th lifetime, entering them at making them the 4th person to earn the Lifetime Achievement Award.
Wow. I'm so glad it was Isenma. Spike has come a long way since they were the first name that really caused you to stumble. They have a soft place in my heart. Congratulations, Isenma. And really, way to go on the 50th lifetime RecPoker win. That is hard to do. Good for you. Very impressive.
It goes to show that if you win it 50 times, even John can learn to.
Yes. I was going to say, I think Izuma has probably brought more joy to Chris Jones than any other player that we have had due to my fumbling of their name.
Probably true.
Then we have Keck Geek got their second, that's Keck Geek Senior for those keeping track, got their second international victory for the year. Then Aces 54320, Kathy Chang won the LPP event. So she can contact info at rec.poker for her free month at Learn Pro Poker.
All right.
I also wanted to make a specific shout out to Evil Roy CA. He is making sure that I don't miss these 50th wins things or noticing when people are getting close. So I appreciate all the help I can get.
Yeah, Dave Westerveld is such a fantastic member here. I got a chance to get on a call with him recently, and he noted a couple inaccuracies or inconsistencies on a couple of the tracking pages. And I just love our members that are so actively involved like that and can help us, catch little stuff that we miss from time to time. Our ears are always open. Listen, if you're a RecPoker member and you're tooling around the website and you see something that doesn't look right or something that could be improved, please tell us. We would love to know how to make the entire RecPoker experience better for everyone involved. So thanks to all of you, and thanks to Dave Westerveld, and congratulations again on this just remarkable run that he's on. It's fantastic. All right. Well, what do you think, Chris? Let's give away a prize here. I see John Doe is the first food bank, then Vice Chic, Joseph Walton, Midwest, K-Poker Wannabe, Joe Rafter. That's six.
Six, right?
I see six.
I got the boxcar out. Is that right?
I love it. That's it. Yeah, let's see who the winner's going to be.
Here we go.
It's a three. So let me see. Starting with John Doe. Where are we here? 1, 2, 3. Joseph Walton. Congratulations, Joseph. So Joseph, please send an email to info@rec.poker. You are going to be set up with a free month at the Poker Forge, and you're really in for a treat. Sky was one of the folks that I looked up to a lot when I was first getting started as a serious player. He knows so much about Poker Tracker 4. He knows so much about Flopzilla. He knows so much about microstakes cash play. And they just have a ton of great videos and learning resources over there. So, and if anyone else wants to give Sky's site a try, or any of our other fantastic learning partners, if you go to rec.poker/resources, you'll find a list of all of our training partners and some discount codes that you can use to sample their sites and see what all this excitement is about. But congratulations on this one to Joseph, and I'm excited to see how high we can raise the ceiling on your poker game, Joseph. I know you bring a lot of chops to the table, but keep studying with some of these fantastic sites like this, and the ceiling's very, very high indeed. All right. Well, what else? Is that it, folks? Are we wrapping this puppy up and rolling on out of here? All right. Well, then I really want to thank all of our YouTube chatters for their excellent participation and the fun joking around and camaraderie that we get from our YouTube group. And to some new faces, I hope you come back next week. We do this every week, and we have a freaking great time doing it. Of course, I have to thank LoriAnn Persinger. I'm excited to have her on the crew and to be talking to her more and more over the next little while. John Somsky, Joe Coolis, Rob Washam, and Chris Jones. We couldn't do it without you. The Running Aces Hotel, Racetrack, and Casino. Thanks to all of you, and thanks to you listening at home. We definitely wouldn't do it without you. So thanks for tuning in. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week on the RecPoker Podcast. Good night, everybody.